Hello and welcome to the Health and Wellness Show live talks with myself, Dov Benyaacov-Kurtzman. Now, this whole show, the whole idea of this is to help people accomplish physical wellness, physical health, physical wellness, emotional health and wellness, financial health and wellness, spiritual health and wellness, neurological health and wellness, and behavioral health and wellness. This is about a holistic view of the human being and trying to further each and every one of us to go from where you are at this particular moment in life and create a higher quality life for yourself. And if I and my guests can help and contribute to that, well, then that's exactly the purpose of this health and wellness live talk show. Now, health and wellness, just to understand, is not about just getting rid of stuff that we don't want in our life. It's about also adding stuff that we do want in our life. These two sides are part of health and wellness. A lot of people that come and see me privately say, I just want rid of my anxiety. I just want rid of my depression. I just want rid of, whatever it is that they don't like in their lives. And then I ask them, okay, but what do you want in your life? And they're like, never thought of that before. So what I want to encourage with this health and wellness live talk show is, let's offer you skills to be able to cope with these things that you don't find pleasant in your life. But let's also add quality to our lives. And so when I came across and was introduced by somebody else to our next guest, I was fascinated. Fascinated not only because of her young years in this world, but by her ultimate wisdom that she found in order to write a book at 15 years old. And not just about writing a book, but the content of it was that she had gone through some sort of distress and trauma, which she will relay to you on her own, but managed to find a way of dealing with that in whatever way she dealt with it, but add to her life. Exactly how I described what I wanted this show to be about. And so I find a common aim with Brittany. I find somebody in this universe, there used to be the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. As I'm going through my journey in life, I like to meet and be associated with people who have similar outlooks and want to contribute to a nurturing society and the well-being of others. And so I found this in Brittany, and I'd like to introduce her now to everybody here. So I'm just going to go in and invite her to come in from the green room.
Hi.
So welcome to you, Brittany.
Thank you for having me on here.
Oh, it's wonderful. So Brittany Krystantos is your full name, right?
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, as I explained in the introduction, there was part of your life at the beginning that was, from sounds to me, in a certain amount of distress or suffering or something that wasn't quite the way that you would want to be in your life. Was that something, I'd like you to explain it to those watching and listening, but with the angle of, did you realize it at the time?
No, the thing is that for the first 7 years of my life, I didn't speak and I had anxiety, and it was a rare anxiety condition that's called selective mutism. And so for the first 7 years, I was very mute, maybe said a few words to my mom, my dad. But at the time, I didn't realize it's wrong, right? Because when you see people, you don't know that you're different from others. You just think it's a normal thing. And I just remember struggling all the time, being nervous all the time. Kindergarten, school, always crying to my mom, not wanting to go. Family events, not talking to people really. And looking back at that, I'm realizing how hard it was to go through that. And I find that that experience, that trauma, that 7 years in my childhood really affected who I was today and affected who I was as a teenager. And as a teenager, I was very shy, didn't speak to too many people. I spoke, of course, but was very shy, didn't speak to too many people at school. And I never wanted to speak in front of like presentation classes, in front of big crowds. And I remember speaking in front of like my teacher, a presentation, or asking to do it privately. And so I think for me personally, my trauma really affected who I am today, and I had to like heal from it. And I find that mental health, it's so important to heal from what you've gone through, because if you don't heal from it, you're not going to get through it. It's still going to come up and you're going to be bottled up with all these emotions and trauma and fears. And that definitely affected me for sure.
Wow. Now, selective mutism is not the same as, just being socially anxious.
Mhm.
And so the first question that comes into my mind, because I know some people that have selective mutism and they don't always come out of it. So how did that happen for you?
Honestly, I think it was more the fact that I grew up, and 7 years old, I saw people, my environment, people were talking more, and I just became very comfortable. But I also had a friend, like a best friend who was like a brother. And my mom always tells me now that when we were younger, he would be the only one I talked to. So I'd whisper in his ear and tell him, like, teacher, I need to go to the washroom, or teacher, I'm hungry, or he would talk for me to the teacher in school. And so having that, a buddy, a support system as a kid definitely helped me and brought me confidence to speak, because I think looking back, if I didn't have that, it would probably be harder to open up and be confident to talk. So
Wow.
having that person was really special.
Well, that's amazing, because one of the things that I've discovered through my journey, whether it's from my mentors or my teachers, or just my personal experience, is that as human beings, that support system, whether it's one person or a family or a community or whatever it is, a club, doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Having a support system is vital to health and wellness, whether it's
Sure.
mental health, physical health, emotional health, whatever it is. We need another human being in our lives. Would you agree with that,
I
Brittany?
totally agree, for sure. I had a mentor when I was 15, and when I was struggling and going through depression and feeling anxious and alone. And I had a spiritual mentor who was really there for me and helped me look beyond what was going on. And I think that in a spiritual way, if you look at it, if you really like take away what's going on in the world and you come back to yourself and you come back to that spirit and that inner self, you're able to really heal and look past that. And so having that mentor was really helpful, because she was able to take me to a journey where I didn't know before, taking me to a deeper level of healing and self-awareness and mental awareness too, that really helped me grow as a person and individual. So mentors are a huge part of your support system and healing through any
Now,
mental issues.
from what I understand, you're kind of becoming, a bit of a mentor yourself now. So, but already at 15 years old, we'll get to that in a second, but already at 15 years old, you published your first book. You've got 2 books out now. Give me in a couple of sentences, basically, what was that like? What brought you to write that book and get something published? What was it that was driving you to that?
It was actually my mentor, and in one of my sessions, she told me to look within myself and hello.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
here
yeah,
listening to you.
it went off. She told me to find your voice and be comfortable with who you are. And so she's the one who told me to journal and write and things like that. And so my book was basically a journal. It was the journals of how I felt every morning I woke up, and I asked myself, how do I feel today? And if I had negative feelings or thoughts in high school, the days I didn't want to go to school or the days I was anxious, I would write it down in my journal. And then eventually she said, you know what, this is your voice. You should find it and know that it's okay to talk and share with the world. And your voice that I was so scared to have for so long can help people and make a difference. And so she was the one that really pushed it and said, I think it's time for you to actually take this journal, this writing, and put it out in the world and make a difference. And so
Wow.
the healing, I guess you can say that the first book is very precious because it was my healing. It was the bad days, the good days, and it was everything I didn't want to say as a kid. And I just put it out in the world and I said, if this can make a difference in one life, then I know that I'm doing something right.
That's amazing, and
Yeah.
it really falls into place with with what I teach, but also brain science research, which basically says, if things are troubling you, if you're having a life of distress, one of the best things to do is to write it down, is to journal it, and of course, not everybody goes and publishes those journals, but from your point of view, you wanted to offer and contribute something to the world. So, what I would like to ask you now, because one of the purposes of this show is to actually contribute value to the people watching and listening to this.
Mhm.
So, your work as a mentor or as a person who wants to contribute health and wellness to other people, who are the kind of people that you are concentrating on to do that for?
Teenagers, definitely, and kids are my main goals because I find that if teenagers had the support and if I had the support earlier that I had when I was in high school, it would help me way earlier than it did. And I find that if I didn't have that, then I don't know where I'd be today. I so being a mentor to teenagers and helping kids go through things and being a voice for them and being a support system is really important to me. And when I do workshops on for teenagers to help them heal within themselves, and I teach strategies and things to get through anxiety and depression. I find that the most thing that they say to me is they feel so alone and they feel like they can't talk to people. And I find that mental health, there's been such a negative stigma with it that it's something you can't talk about. And these kids, they feel like if they talk about their struggles or they talk about what they're going through, they're going to be looked as weird or
Hmm.
different. And I find that it's so important to encourage people to talk about mental health and keep that conversation going. And that's really the main goal here is to teach these kids that, look, I struggled and look where I am today. And I still struggled sometimes too. And that it's a constant journey. And so if these kids knew that, then I find that it would be so much helpful for them in their growth and stuff.
Wow, that message of it's a constant journey, because that I really want to grab onto, because it's something not only teenagers don't always appreciate, but adults too, right?
Mhm.
Is of any age is, when is this all going to end? When am I not going to have any, you know, worrying thoughts? When am I not going to have any worry about my finances? When am I not going to have any anxiety in my life? When am I not going to have any sadness in my life? And so on and so forth, especially when the environment are always giving us messages of you should be totally happy all the time, you should be the best all the time, you should be the most beautiful all the time, you should, that's just constant bombardment of this kind of stimulation. And what you're saying here is so amazing, because it's basically imparting the message of, hey, this is life, and life has, peaks and troughs. Life has, wonderful, joyous moments, but it also has moments of sadness and moments of struggle and moments of, pain.
For sure.
Um, and so, how do you impart that from the Brittany way? How do you get that over to a teenager? Let's say there's a teenager watching or listening right now. How would you get that message over to them?
I think the most important thing for teenagers or for young females, I'm a young adult, young woman, and the hardest part is what you said, especially for being female, is you have to be the most beautiful one, the most skinniest one, the most amazing one. And I think there's so much pressure for females, for young adults, for even men out there, but for a female especially, it's hard for me. It was you had to be perfect, you had to be good enough, you had to be, be seen by so many people. And I think that the most important thing there is to know that you are good enough and to not keep being challenged by the influences in the media in the world, and to really just focus on yourself and to know that it's okay to not be perfect sometimes and it's okay to be sad. It's okay to have bad days. And I think that's the most important thing in your healing journey, is to know that it's okay, right? Like today I may be in a good mood, but tomorrow may be bad. And it's okay to go through those feelings and feel it and work through it. And if we work through our emotions and not suppress it or block it, that's the real healing, because the emotions, the sadness is what actually makes us grow.
Wonderful. I mean, that's just natural, isn't it? It's just we're not going to appreciate either, the pleasant or joyful emotions in our life if we didn't have the opposite, because it's going
Mhm.
to happen anyway, isn't it? I mean, we could have the most wonderful time. We're out in the park and we're having a really great time with our friends, and then, we might have a memory that comes in and said, oh, you know what? I used to walk my dog in this park and my dog passed away last year. I mean, we're never, ever going to get away from our own memories, our own thoughts, our own
Yeah.
experiences. And so what I'm hearing from you is, okay, so why don't you just take that on
Mhm.
board as part of, this is your life experiences, and this as is important as this. Because if you didn't feel sad that you didn't have your dog anymore, well, then
Mhm.
maybe that would have shown us that you didn't particularly have any, emotional attachment to your dog in the
Mhm.
first place. So if you've got sadness there, it kind of points to something of value there as well, doesn't it? It points to something must have been important to you for you now to be sad about.
And that's a beautiful thing, to be vulnerable and to it's okay to be sad. And there's so many kids in my workshops who hold their emotions and they don't want to cry, but then I tell them it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel something, and then they start. I had kids bawling in my arms, telling me that how they want to end their life or they're so scared. And that's the most important thing right there. It's okay to be sad, it's okay to feel, but then how can we get through that? How can we, get help? How can we get guidance and get through that and work through it? And so, like you said, triggers come all the time. And that's in my new book, Beneath and Beyond. I talk about triggers and childhood memories, and how can we look back in our past and think about, let's say, 5 memories that is terrible, that traumatizes us, and how can we look past and think of like 5 memories in the past that were amazing and positive. And if we keep the positive memories going and the negative ones, then you bring joy and then you bring healing in your life too. And that's what I really teach kids is I tell them to think about like the memories. Write down 5 memories. Write down 5 sad ones, 5 happy ones. And then we're able to bring that healing and that energy and that positivity also in our lives, in our minds, in our energy.
Wow. So that's a wonderful tip right now for anybody just listening or watching, is write down these 5 different types of memories, some maybe unpleasant, uncomfortable ones, sad ones, maybe, or whatever, painful ones. And on the other hand, 5 memories of joy, of pleasant, of wonderful experiences, because both are really important. At least that the message I'm getting from you is that both have value, both of these types of memories. And so these workshops that you do, I mean, where did you learn all this? Is this something that was taught to you that you actually went through yourself? Or is this something that you've learned from somewhere else? Where is all this coming from?
Most of it was things I learned from myself. Um, as a kid, as a young teen too, my healing journey, I had a mentor, and then I was very obsessed with self help. How can I help myself? How can I get through things? And so I'd buy tons of books, like self help books from every author, and I would highlight all the key points of how to heal yourself, how to find positivity, how to find wellness and peace in mind. And so a lot of it was from what I learned and from what I went through. And then some of it was I would ask professionals, is this okay? And I remember I spoke at a university. Every year I speak at this university in Toronto. And I asked the professor, I said, can you look at my workshop? And so I got tips, and I got tips from doctors and professionalisms and people out there who are actually doing it. So a lot of my tools in my second book is from myself and from also professionals out there that gave me advice, and I'm really grateful for advice, and I like to learn and educate myself all the time, and how can I help more and how can I do better.
I think it's amazing. And what I find extraordinary is, I mean, there could be nothing better, I don't think, than, young adults getting encouragement and teaching and wisdom from their peers, right? From another young adult like yourself. So, the thing is that, if people that are much older, maybe more experienced, but they're not always accepted by that age group. They don't always have that same language. They don't have that same, kind of idea of what's turning them on and what's not turning them on, what really the problems are. And here comes along Brittany and has that kind of common interest with them, common peer group with them. It must be very satisfying for you.
Completely. It's amazing knowing that I can make a difference and I can help someone. And these, like you said, these kids, they're young. I'm young still. They look up to me, and that's the most amazing part in this, is that I can actually impact people and be their mentor, be their friend, be their whatever they need to get through the hard times. And that's the greatest gift, is that, like, I feel like a life purpose or a soul calling, and I'm meant to be doing this, and I'm grateful for every kid I meet and every person I talk to. And I hope that every person I talk to, I can make a difference. And that's the goal. If I don't, I don't. But if I do and I make a difference on one person, that's all that matters to me, for sure.
So that's wonderful. So we're tapping in here to another thing which I think is important, and that's the message of having that spirituality in our life, that sense of meaning and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sense of, when I get up in the morning, what is my life going to be about? What direction do I want it to go in? Now, we don't know the future, but we can direct what it is that's important for us to add value to our own lives and to others. And I see that in you. You've got that sense of value, that sense of mission, that sense of meaning and purpose in your life, which is to contribute and to help others, which I find is really, really, I have all the respect for that. I admire it in you. But I also go back to something else you said, which I want to kind of just pick out. And that is, we have to look after ourselves. We have to take that responsibility. We have to take that ownership. And there's totally nothing wrong with being selfish in that sense of self-care. But the environment, the society have taught us for many, many years, oh, you shouldn't think of yourself. Oh, you're only thinking of yourself. You're a selfish human being. You're so on and so on. And I think that understanding that there's a difference. If I'm thinking of myself, but only myself, then that's one thing. But if I'm thinking of myself to self-care in order then to go on and contribute my mission in life, I think that is the healthy, useful selfishness, if you like. What would you say to that, Brittany?
I say it's very important, because people like myself, who are always giving and helping and caring and loving, we often forget to help ourselves. We often forget to take a moment to relax, to have a movie night, to relax, to do yoga, to meditate, or whatever that thing is that makes us feel calm and relax. And those stuff for me is what calms me: yoga, meditation. And oftentimes I think about others before myself. And I think in my later years, after high school and everything, I had to realize that it's okay to take me time. It's important to do the things that make me feel good. And for people out there who are like us, who want to help, who are caring, who are giving, we often forget that, if we keep giving, we're going to drain ourselves. We're going to be tired. We're going to be sick. And that's important, because if we're not feeling good or we're not our best selves, we can't help others even more. And so taking time for you time, I find so important and so key.
That's amazing. What I want to ask you now is a different angle, because social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all these kind of things have had a little bit of bad press when it comes to mental and emotional health, because there can be a lot of bullying going on. There can be a lot of people, not getting enough likes or hearts or whatever. But I want to ask you from a different direction. How do you use social media for the opposite, for helping people, for encouraging them, for using it for your work. How do you use these platforms in that positive way?
I find for me, I use it as a way to make a difference and use my voice to speak up and make that positive change. And for me, social media isn't about the Instagram likes, the followers. It's about being authentic and being yourself. And for me, I don't post personal things too much. I like to post my books and my talks and things that are really going to bring value to people's lives. And so for anyone out there, if it's a teenager out there, a girl, just realize that it's not important to get that like. If you get 10 likes more than your friends, or you get 10 likes less than your friends, it doesn't make you a better person. A lot of the time, social media is, I find, very filtered and fake, and people are just fueled off of that following list or that like list or the comments. And it's important to realize why you're doing it. And I find Instagram or any social media platform is meant to be captured, capture your journey of who you are. I think that's why they created that, is capturing different pictures, different moments in your life. And if you use it in a way to share your journey and share each moment that you want to share with the world, then that's a positive thing. But if you use it for different ways to get more likes, to get more followers, get famous, that's not value. That's not going to benefit you or benefit anyone else, because it's not bring value to people's lives.
What a wonderful message. We've got Norman coming in here again saying, great interview, very valuable. And I must say, I totally agree with him. I think it's a coup for this health and wellness live talks to have you here. Let me ask you, if somebody wanted to get a hold of your books, just give us an idea of what the name of the books are. And if they wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way of getting in touch with you?
So I can show it. So the first book is called I'm Not Your Average Teen. And this one you can get on Amazon. That's the best way to get it. And both books, this one too, Beneath and Beyond. And both Amazon or indigo.com. But the best way to get in touch with me would be my website or any social media platforms. My website is www.brittkrystantos.com. And yeah, I'm always open to talking to people and being there for people. So anyone that has questions or feel like talking, definitely reach out to me.
Wow. And what would be, just quickly, what would be the difference between these two books?
Two books. So the first one I showed, I'm Not Your Average Teen, was literally my journals. It was me as a teenager, me at 15, writing down my struggles, my hardships, my fears, and how I got through it, and tips to being not average, being different, and really talking to that teen market. It's really teen to teen, because I was a teen when I wrote it. And that's why it's called I'm Not Your Average Teen, because it's like a teen perspective. And the second book, Beneath and Beyond, is about the subtitle is called To Truly Heal, You Must Reopen Past Wounds. And so the reason for that book is to help people go back to their past, go back and heal. And it's about really taking tools and things like that to help anxiety, to help depression. And it's a more interactive workshop and more interactive book, and to guide people in their healing journeys. So that book is definitely more advanced, but it's for every person, teenagers, young adults, anyone that really wants to heal and talk about self-help and how they can move past things.
Wow. Incredible. So there's no doubt about that. I'd like to invite you back already for when we can talk a little bit more about these things that you do in the workshop. It's been absolutely a pleasure. Brittany Krystantos, thank you very much for being my guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
So there you go. Having Brittany on the show was a pleasure for me, because just having somebody from that peer group of the young adults. I mean, we have all sorts of people on this show and my other social media shows that are, world leading psychologists or authors. But having Brittany here was a breath of fresh air, and I can see that she's definitely going to go far. And I look forward to the next time that hopefully she'll be a guest on the show. In the meantime, please like, share, watch party, tag, whatever you can do to spread the word of this show in particular, but specifically this one with Brittany. Thank you very much for watching.
Disclaimer: the show is for entertainment purposes only and not professional advice. To inquire about something specific regarding the contents, we suggest you contact the guest speaker directly. Should you wish to apply to be a guest on the show, please contact Dov Benyaacov-Kurtzman on factcpfa@gmail.com. Dov Benyaacov-Kurtzman is founder of Heads Up CIO, a UK emergency response charity for cognitive psychological first aid, and is a highly experienced psychotherapist, executive business coach, and author of the book, Mind Over Terror, 3 Weeks, 2 Cities, 1 Mission. With over 10,000 hours of experience and academic degrees in government, law, clinical social work, and a postgraduate diploma in psychiatry with distinction, Dov is well placed to help you. He's also available for public speaking and corporate training.